Hi, I'm Max.
And I'm Becca.
We are two different people.
But so are these guys.
The Trudeau and Trump administration have very different ways of communicating with the public.
On one hand, we'll take a look at how they talk about healthcare, and on another, we'll explore the language they use when talking about crime and punishment.
Finally, we'll try and see what these leaders have in common in their speeches and political discourses. It's Justin Trudeau versus Donald Trump. Canada versus the USA. Beavers versus eagles. Let's compare. First up, to help us analyze these differences, let's meet two people from both nations. This is Sheila. Let's hear her story.
Hi, I have throat cancer. Here's what Donald Trump had to say about the Obamacare that could have saved my vocal folds.
Obamacare is everything but dead.
Damn, sorry to hear that, Sheila. Clearly, we can see that Trump dislikes Obamacare and basically killed medical coverage for millions of Americans. But wait, when Donald Trump says something pretty negative, he sugarcoats it with something that seems to be beneficial as to distract the audience from his tyranny.
And we'll be doing that right after the largest tax cuts in the history of our country.
Sounds good, Trump, but I'll be dead by the time these tax cuts are implemented.
Now let's talk to Jared from Chatham, Ontario, to see how he did when he discovered that he had prostate cancer.
I got some free screening. The proctologist said, looks like you have a tumor. And he also said that we can schedule for some chemo and some surgery within a week. And I've been declared cancer-free as of 2016. I think Canada has a pretty good healthcare system, if you ask me. Hey, how much does the government put into this?
That's a great question, Jared. Let's see what Trudeau promised during his election campaign.
A new Liberal government will allocate $3 billion over the next 4 years to improve and adapt our healthcare system.
Oh, that's neat. I remember when the surgeons prescribed me some meds during my recovery. Then it cost too much money. Is that associated in the budget as well?
We will also improve access to necessary prescription medications.
On the topic of opioids, whether it should be considered a crime or health issue, Trump tends to lean more towards the criminalization of opioid users and traffickers while being tough on crime. Trump uses lots of scapegoats and uses them as a cause for the victimization of American society.
We're also working with law enforcement officers to protect innocent citizens from drug dealers that poison our communities.
This can be explained by Elvin T. Lam, professor at Wesleyan University in Connecticut, says that current media environment benefits those who speak in pithy sound bites, and that the candidate who shows that they can punch as much as they can in that short time frame gets their message out.
In Canada, Trudeau's speeches are the antithesis of the Orange Man down south. He puts an emphasis on the social health issues related to addiction and mental health.
We need to come together as a country to help our most vulnerable, to recognize the challenges faced day in and day out by drug users, by people who are victims of addiction and mental health problems, and we need to do more as a society to help.
However, upon analysis, we can see that Justin Trudeau's rhetoric changes when he talks about opioids. Pay attention to what he says when he discusses his plans to combat the opioid epidemic in joint US-Canada press conferences.
The rise of illegal use of opioids in our society is nothing less than a tragedy. We will do everything we can to ensure the safety of Canadians and Americans.
This is confirmed by prominent Financial Times writer and Monk School of Global Affairs alumni Anna Nicolaou, who says in her latest article, Justin Trudeau treads cautious path in the Trump era, that the challenge for Mr. Trudeau is to keep faith with Canadians, who largely disapprove of Mr. Trump.
This is also supported by two scholars, notably Paul Fraser, who is a Canadian ambassador to the US and a McGill and Harvard Fellow, who says that it is common sense not to endanger the Canada-US relationship. The other one is Professor Roland Paris, professor of Public and International Affairs at the University of Ottawa, who states that Mr. Trudeau's challenge is to hold his principles without picking a fight. Finally, Ralph Matthews, a sociologist at UBC, tried to find some commonalities between the two governments. He says that Canada and the US may appear quite similar societies on the surface, but they are quite different from one another at a more fundamental level of socio-cultural orientation. For Canada, that is liberalistic social obligation helmed by the Trudeau government versus a more conservative American individualism highlighted by Donald Trump.